True Crime in Each State, Part 10, Kentucky. This is Donald Harvey. He claimed to kill 87 people between 1970 and 1987. He was also known as the Angel of Death. Donald got away with his crimes for 17 years. The only reason why Donald was caught is because there was a patient of his that died abruptly that had large amounts of cyanide in his system. Donald would kill his victims by using insulin, suffocation, arsenic, cyanide, random poisons. He claims that the reason why he did it is because he feels empathy for his patients that were suffering. He also said that some of them were out of anger as to why he killed them. When the police were starting to look at Donald, they realized that he had to resign from the hospital he was working at because he was stealing body parts for occult rituals. When they brought him in, he admitted to killing one of his patients with cyanide, but they didn't think it was just one, so they investigated. Several nurses came forward saying that there was a spike in deaths when he worked there. It was easy for Donald to stay off the radar because where he worked, the patients weren't expected to live. He died in 2017, serving 28 life sentences. True Crime in Each State, Part 11, Kansas. This is Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK killer. Dennis was born in March of 1945, and he grew up kind of resenting his mom because he felt ignored by her. At a young age, he would torture and kill small animals. In January of 1974, Dennis killed a family of 4. He then left a note inside of a book at a public library describing the killings. In 1974 through 1977, he killed 3 more women. He again wrote a letter, but this time he sent it to a TV station. In this letter, he demanded media attention. One of the women he intended to kill, he ended up not doing it because he waited outside her house for hours and she never came home, so he got impatient and left. One of his victims he killed in 1985, he took her body to the church where he was the president of the council there. He then took pictures of her body in different positions and then dumped her in a ditch. He continued to kill people, but then went silent in 1991. Randomly in 2004, he sent a letter to a TV station that included pictures of crime scenes. He was then caught in 2005 when the police pulled information embedded into a floppy disk he had sent with a letter. He was sentenced to 10 life sentences. True Crime in Each State, Part 12, California. Brenda Spencer was only 16 when she was charged with 25 years to life in prison. Brenda was born on April 3, 1962. I think it's fair to say that she had a pretty rough upbringing. Her parents were divorced and she lived with her dad. All they had was a single mattress in the middle of the living room floor and they shared it together. Her dad was an alcoholic, so they had empty beer cans and bottles covering the entire floor of the house. In 1978, Brenda's probation officer told her father that she needed to be in a mental hospital for her depression, but he refused any type of help for her. For Christmas, she asked her dad for a radio, but instead he bought her a semi-automatic rifle and 500 rounds of ammunition. A 16-year-old. On January 29th, Brenda began shooting at the kids standing outside across from her house while they were waiting to get let into school. She injured 8 kids, killed the principal and the custodian. She was often on the phones with reporters, and you will not believe what this bitch said for why she did it. She deadass said, "I don't like Mondays, this livens it up." Even though she was only 16, she was charged as an adult. True Crime in Each State, Part 13, Wisconsin. In April of 1991, 15-year-old Bruce Bernizer called the police to report his family of 5 missing. He had claimed they went to Minneapolis to go on a shopping trip, but never returned. 8 days after the family went missing, the police got a call about a possible lead. A fisherman called the police saying that he saw the missing family's station wagon burned. When the police went to research the scene, they found bone and teeth fragments in the car. After using dental records, it was known to be the Bernizer family. Bruce's father, Rick's girlfriend, and 3 children's bones were found in the car. About a week later, Bruce's stepbrother Jesse came forward and said that Bruce was the killer. First, he tied up 2 of the kids, and when he heard them trying to escape, he shot them. He then was waiting for Rick and his girlfriend to come home. When they arrived home, they came in the house, he said, "Hi, Dad," and then shot both of them to death. After that, this is when he shot the last child and then called his stepbrother to help him move the bodies. They put them in the station wagon, moved it to a secluded area, and burned it. Jesse received immunity for testifying against Bruce. Bruce was sentenced to life into a mental institute. True Crime in Each State, Part 14, West Virginia. On July 5, 2012, Skylar worked her shift at Wendy's and then returned to her family apartment. Around 12:30 a.m., she snuck out to go hang out with her friends Rachel and Sheila. Skylar was kind of hesitant on going. She just had a falling out with both of the girls, but she decided to still go. Sheila was waiting outside of her apartment in her car, so whenever she snuck out, she hopped in the car and they were gone. They were going to a spot where they normally went to go smoke across from the Pennsylvania border. Sheila and Rachel planned to kill Skylar for months. The girls had knives and cleaning supplies already in the back seat. Once they had gotten out of the car and parked, they went out to smoke, and the girls said that they forgot their lighter. When Skylar went to go get a lighter from the car, they counted to 3 and they started stabbing her. She had more than 50 stab wounds. They tried to bury the body, but they ended up just putting dirt, rocks, and branches over her body. Skylar was actually missing, and they thought she was a runaway until one of the girls confessed. Rachel took the police to where her body was on January 16, 2013. When the girls asked why they killed her, they just said, "I didn't like her. I don't want to be friends with her anymore." True Crime in Each State, Part 15, Washington. Between 1980 and 1990, Gary claimed to have murdered at least 71 teenage girls and women between Seattle and Tacoma. Most of the women he chose were either sex workers or runaways. He would pick them up and then trick them into trusting him by showing them a picture of his son. He would then take the women to his home or a secluded area. When having sex with them, he would wrap his arm around their neck and then strangle them. He would then dump their body in like a wooded area near the Green River. This is where he got his name, the Green River Killer. He sometimes would return to the bodies and have sex with them again. Said he didn't really like it, but it would reduce his need for wanting living victims. Something I found interesting is that the police would often interview Ted Bundy on this case. Ted offered some opinions and behavior on the killer. Ted said that he thought that the killer was often visiting the site to have sex with his victims, which turned out to be true. November 30th, 2001, Gary was arrested. To avoid the death penalty, he helped the police locate remains and other victims that they hadn't known about. True Crime in Each State, Part 16, Colorado. In 2013, Isabella stabbed her mom 79 times. Earlier that day, her mother actually called the police because of a threatening email that Isabella had sent her earlier and because Isabella spit in her face. The email said, "You will pay." The police told Isabella that if she continued to act the way she acted, her mother could kick her out because she was 18. After the police left, Isabella's biological father came over to her house and had a conversation with her. He basically just told her that she needed to treat her mother with respect. He thought that he had gone through to her, but hours later is when she committed her crime. Her stepfather heard some thumping coming from upstairs in the bathroom, so he ran upstairs to see what was going on. He saw blood coming out from underneath the bathroom door, so he tried to get in, but he couldn't, so he called the police. As he was on the phone with the police, Isabella opened the door, and she just stared straight ahead with the knife, didn't say a word, and just kept on walking out the front door. Isabella was found not guilty for reasons of insanity. She was then admitted to a mental institution. Her doctor diagnosed her with schizophrenic paranoia.